All right, let's try this again. So motor groups we're going to be doing. It's basic, simple typing out because all we're doing is basically naming the motors or naming the motor group. So we're going to start with left side of GM. So I keep it simple for myself. When we type in motor group shows up. We're going to do that one. Open close parentheses, and already is telling you like what you need to be looking for. So you got the two motors program, which we have up here, motor group, and then what motors. So we're doing left side first, and then right side, or front side and back side. And then we got the left motor group. We're gonna make it super simple, and we're gonna copy this and paste it. And rename everything to right motor group. Then right motor, and right motor again. Easy enough, right? All right, so next we're going to go into the smart drive. Now the smart drive is when you actually have all four motors moving at the same time in tandem with your inertial center, which is required on all robots. This will make it easier when moving the robot forward, backwards, left to right on autonomous. So I usually have to call a name first, right? So we're going to call this one, I like to call it super drive. Super drive. All right, so we called for the smart drive. We're going to equals it, and we're going to actually call what are we using this for? The super drive. We're going to call it for the smart drive. All right, same thing when you open up the parentheses. It tells you exactly what you need to type in. So first things first is the left motor group. So RGM, right motor group, or RGM. Your inertial sensor, inert. And then we're going to be looking for wheel travel, track width, and wheelbase. These are interesting. So the wheel travel is basically the circumference of the driven wheels. So most 4-inch wheels are going to be used on your robots. So default is 300 millimeters. If you want to switch this to inches, I believe 300 to inches is 11.81. But that's up to you guys. Track width. Track width is the distance between your left front motor and your right front motor. That way it'll make it easier for you to tell which way the robot can turn. So take a measurement to that, or if you want to just go default, we're going to do 320 millimeters, or 320. If you wanted to do inches, is 12.6. And then last but not least is your wheelbase. So center wheel left to center wheel left, or center of the wheel on the left front, and then center of the wheel of the left back. That's the distance you want for the wheelbase. And then default is 320, and we already know what the inches are for that. All right, now that you got those three motors, we're going to be calling for what units we're using. Default is millimeters, so you don't have to type it in if you're doing the millimeter one. If you want to keep it simple, just type in millimeters. And then last but not least is the external gear ratio. So if you're running straight motor to wheel, you don't have to do anything here. The default is already in there. But if you're running motor to gear to wheel, like you're doing a gear ratio, so you got to figure out what the gear ratio is. So if it's a 2-to-1, type in 2. If it's a 3-to-1, type in 3. So it all depends on what kind of gears you're using inside your robot. All right, does that make sense? I hope. All right. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to be calling for our controller. I like to keep mine simple. Darth equals controller. Hit enter. Open close parentheses. And you're done there. Starting from here on out, we're going to be working on what kind of functions we want to use, and also what we're going to be putting in pre-autonomous. So keep an eye out for the next video.